Hello everybody, it's Adam at All Things Bonsai. We had a bit of snow last night. It's late March, coming into April very soon, but this little bit of snow has just given me the opportunity to knock a quick video together just on a little bit of winter care, talking about trees that are inside, trees that are outside, and some notes there. So yeah, I hope you like the video. So you can see the trees covered in the snow, things that are outside. There's quite a selection really. I mean, there's acers, there's junipers, there's pines. There's plenty of native English stuff, which of course has been out all winter. All this stuff's been out all winter, to be fair. Selection of different trees then. We've had that bit of snow and a little bit of ice this morning, but it wasn't particularly cold. I think it went down to 0, which doesn't give us any cause for concern. I think the reason why I wanted to do this video really is because, you know, when you're starting out, you'll panic at the first little bits of snow, particularly if the snow or the cold is relatively late, I suppose. I mean, this spring has been very mild and it's come very early, but now we've just got a slight dip in the temperatures, even though we're just about to come into April, so it's fairly normal. But on the flip side, you know, the spring was fairly early and we were practically in shorts a couple of weeks ago, even last week. So beginners will sometimes be panicking about the trees and running out and thinking, oh, you know, sugar, the snow's falling, and then they'll move trees in and move trees out and start panicking too much. So I guess the main reason I wanted you to see this quick video was just to see that sort of thing doesn't overly bother us, you know. See acers there, Chinese elms outside as well. There's a yew, there's a hornbeam there, and all these things are starting just to bud now, and all the leaves are coming out. So you're going to be extra concerned because you'll be worried about the cold actually damaging those buds and frosting those tips. But it takes a good amount of cold to do that, I think. You know, particularly if the trees have been out all winter, then they're going to be a lot more frost hardy than trees which you've babied in a greenhouse. Do you see what I mean? So, you know, if something's been in the greenhouse, it wants to stay in the greenhouse, arguably, at this time of year. Whereas if something's been outside, it's not as far on as something that would be in a warm greenhouse. So we've got frost-tender tropical plants, which are certainly in the greenhouse, and if it gets really cold, they'll actually need to come into a house if you don't have a heated greenhouse. Satsuki Azaleas, some people say leave them out, some people say they've got to stay in. We tend to bring them in for the winter, just into the cold greenhouse. That's a Trident maple there. Now, Trident's wheel, again, we'll bring in for the worst of the winter, although we've popped some outside, even though it's a little bit cold and frosty. Lastly, there's a Largostromia there, a Crepe Myrtle, which, again, we cold greenhouse for the winter. Chinese elms are an interesting one. You know, sometimes we have them in the greenhouse over the winter, while others we leave outside. You know, you'll find that with the Chinese elms, with the azaleas, and with some of the other ones, if you protect them in the winter, you'll keep more of last year's leaves, so they'll appear to be more evergreen. Whereas if you give them a harder winter, they'll turn much more deciduous over time. So there's a degree of variability within the species, and how you approach looking after them dictates what they do, essentially. So it's up to you how you do that, and you'll probably try about with different ways of doing it and see what works out best, you know. So there we go. It's a little bit later in the afternoon now. The sun's back out and everything's looking nice. The pots are not frozen. Can you see? You know, the soil's not frozen, so it's thawed. The trees can have a drink now. They can take water back up. I've had a quick nosy at the acers. They're fine. There's no sign of any damage to them or anything like that, and everything looks fine. So yeah, you know, don't panic on this occasion, and there's nothing too much to worry about. Don't take this as a sign, though, that if we have a horrible, terrible Baltic winter, you know, don't think, oh, I'll just leave my trees out, whatever, and Adam said it was fine and don't worry too much, you know, because it will depend on the weather, and it always does depend on the weather. But do bear in mind, you know, slightly frosty morning, a little bit of snow, nothing to worry about.